Welcome to Beyond the Coverage. I'm Chris Horner. In today's edition, I want to cover a little bit of the tactics of UAE team members since last year's Tour de France, all the way through Abruzzo this season here in April, and then we're going to cover Tour of Suisse. So if you haven't seen Tour of Suisse, it's going to be a buzz killer for you, so you might want to click off, because I'm going to cover the last three mountain stages, 4, 5, and 6 of Tour of Suisse a little bit, and talk about UAE team members' tactics when we're talking Tour of Suisse, when we're talking Tour de France last year, and Abruzzo this season, when we're talking about Alexei Lusenko winning at Abruzzo. But UAE team members had a pretty stacked team there because they had Adam Yates. Now, why do I want to bring up the analytics of the cycling world? Well, we don't really have analytics. Baseball have analytics that can tell you that this ace hitter that hits home runs on every pitcher except for this one guy who throws with the left hand with a knuckleball or a fastball or whatever it is, always strikes this amazing home run hitter that's got the record of everything. They can pull out statistics on everything. The analytics are all over the place for every particular little corner of baseball you could possibly have. In cycling, we don't have that. For me personally, I have whatever memory I can pull up from in the last year, 2 years, 3 years of what certain riders can do. We look at a rider like Tadej Pogačar, UAE team members. He is basically everybody's kryptonite out there because he wins more often than loses against riders, unless you're talking about the last 2 seasons of the Tour de France, where Jonas Vingegaard, Visma Lease bike, has beaten Tadej Pogačar there at the Tour de France. But we go into some of the race tactics from UAE team members, and the reason why I want to cover them is because, of course, after Dauphiné, I covered Remco and I covered Primož Roglič. Then I covered Jonas Vingegaard on the last Beyond the Covers. But now there's no place for me to cover Tadej Pogačar, so we'll cover his team because they're racing there at Tour of Suisse. So let me take you all the way back to last year's Tour de France. We'll go into stage 6. It's Côte-Ré-Cambasque is the last and final climb. It was an epic day of racing. Wout van Aert had done stuff that I had never seen and would have never thought a big guy can do. He went over 2 mountain passes. He went over Col de Aspen, the Col de Tourmalet, then he went Côte-Ré-Cambasque with the 2 best climbers in the world on his wheel, brought him all the way into about 5 kilometers ago. Jonas Vingegaard, Visma Lease bike, his teammate, then Jumbo-Visma, he lit it up. Tadej Pogačar followed him magnificently. So, why am I bringing that up? Well, Jumbo-Visma covered the whole race. They rode the front of the break with Wout van Aert. They rode their peloton on the back on Col de Aspen. Jonas Vingegaard dropped everyone going up Col de Tourmalet. Then he bridged across with only one rider on his wheel, Tadej Pogačar. Wout van Aert waited up, pulled him all the way into Côte-Ré-Cambasque. Tadej Pogačar sat on the wheel, calm. He knew Jonas Vingegaard was going to attack him. Jonas Vingegaard did attack him. He looked for that weakness point. Then he gained 25 seconds thereabouts on Jonas Vingegaard from Jumbo-Visma at the end of that stage because UAE team members rode it perfectly. Now keep that in mind. They rode stage 6 perfectly. Tadej Pogačar, UAE team members. They were calm. They let it stew. They let all the other teams do the work like Jumbo-Visma did. And then when he saw the weakness from Jonas Vingegaard, he attacked. He won the stage of the Tour de France on stage 6. And remember, stage 5 went pretty bad for the Slovenian Tadej Pogačar, but stage 6, it was his comeback time, bringing back 25 seconds. Didn't get the race leader's jersey, but he brought it back. Okay, we go into stage 14 of last year's Tour de France. Remember that magnificent stage? It was Juplin. Well, Jumbo-Visma came into the bottom of Juplin. They were going full gas, blowing everybody up. Wout van Aert got dropped early. Then he came back to the front, drilled it one more time on the front, as we saw that it was Rafael Majka looking over going, what is happening as he's getting dropped? Wout van Aert's on the front drilling it. It's time for Sepp Kuss to go to work. Sepp Kuss is getting ready to go to work, and instead, UAE team members take over the front of the peloton on Juplin. Now at that moment, that wasn't the same tactic that they did on stage 6, Côte-Ré-Cambasque. It was Tadej Pogačar and UAE team members saying, hey, we're not going to let it stew. We're not going to let Jumbo-Visma Sepp Kuss ride until he blows himself. We're not going to let Jonas Vingegaard attack just like he did off of the wheel of Wout van Aert, but now he would have been doing it off the wheel of Sepp Kuss. We're not going to let him attack and then have Tadej Pogačar follow him like he did on Côte-Ré-Cambasque. Instead, they put their teammates on the front. Adam Yates went on the front for UAE team members with Tadej Pogačar on his wheel. Now they completely erased everything. Jonas Vingegaard's going, whoa, I thought I was going to have to attack on Juplin. Instead, now I'm just going to follow the wheel there of Tadej Pogačar. He followed it magnificently. Remember when Tadej Pogačar got caught napping for the time bonuses at the top of Juplan? Then Jonas Vingegaard went around, stole some time bonuses on him. If they would have let it stew, let Jumbo-Visma have done their work of Juplan, for sure Jonas Vingegaard's attacking just like he did at Côte-Cambasque on stage 6. Now he's attacking. Tadej Pogačar is watching everything. He's looking for that weakness. Jonas Vingegaard, he finally sees a weakness just near the top there of Juplan, like he did at Côte-Cambasque. He takes off. He gains the time bonuses at the top there of Juplan and goes over the top, going full gas. Jonas Vingegaard's following him. Maybe Jonas Vingegaard stays on his wheel. Maybe he doesn't. I can't tell you that. We don't know the story because that's not how it played out. Instead, it played out, like I told you, Jonas Vingegaard stole the time bonuses. They stopped. They hesitated. Carlos Rodriguez from Team Ineos came back, attacked them just as the descent started, won the stage. Tadej Pogačar lost a chance at winning the stage and lost the time bonuses. Instead of 10-second time bonuses to 6 seconds of Jonas Vingegaard getting second on him, possibly a gap going over the top of Juplan that he held all the way down the bottom. Possibly. I don't know the future of that or what that, for sure what that would have happened, but we saw it happen on Côte-Cambasque. It's possible. You can't argue with me that it's possible it happens on Juplan, right? Instead, he gets 6-second time bonuses per second. Jonas is directly on his wheel. Tadej Pogačar had to ride the whole descent. Jonas Vingegaard sitting on his wheel, getting rested the whole time, coming down off Juplan, and only loses 2 seconds to Tadej Pogačar, but he gained time bonuses on him at the top of Juplan anyways, so it really washed it all out, and they basically neutralized that stage because UAE team members didn't let it stew, didn't let Jumbo-Visma do their work. Now, fast forward you into the 2024 season, we go to Abruzzo, we go to the mountain stage when we're talking Prata di Tivo, and when UAE team members started this stage, they had the race leader's jersey with young Christian. At that moment, Alexei Lusenko from Astana wanted the jersey, but UAE team members had it. So they didn't have to ride coming up the final climb there on Prata di Tivo. They could have just let Astana have to do what they had to do and start attacking, and the other guys started attacking. Adam Yates, Sivakov, Diego Ulissi follow these attacks. They let those riders get tired. Once they tire, Adam Yates attacks, Sivakov attacks. They go 1-2 at the top of Prata di Tivo. Instead, what did they do? UAE team members did not let it stew. They didn't think about the statistics, the analytics of what's happening in bike racing. They went, we're going to go with power. We're going to go muscle and power all here at Abruzzo, and we're going to go ahead and drop our team leader, Jan Christian, at the bottom of that climb. We're going to set tempo hard. Then Adam Yates is going to attack, but he doesn't have great form because, of course, he had had a head injury, a concussion earlier in the season, so he was just recovering from that. They're going full gas. Alexei Lusenko is covering everything. At certain moments going up that climb, you had Adam Yates in the wind, you had Sivakov in the wind, and if I remember correctly, Diego Ulissi was in the wind too, so you had all three guys chasing, and the only guy sitting on is the guy who became the virtual race leader at that moment, Alexei Lusenko. He's sitting on. Diego Ulissi finally gets back up to the front group. He's starting to do some tempo. Alexei Lusenko drops everyone the last 400 meters to the line, maybe 3, and puts time into Adam Yates, and they end up losing the stage and the general classification there. They didn't let it stew. They didn't understand how cycling was going to work. When we look back at that Côte-Cambasque of how it should be done when Tadej Pogačar dropped Jonas Vingegaard, now we see Abruzzo, it didn't work. It didn't work on Juplan. It didn't work there. Now we fast forward again and we go into today's stage of stage 6 of Tour of Suisse. Well, I'll take you a little bit further back to understand that was stage 5 and stage 4, because 4, Adam Yates ends up attacking the group near the top of the climb. We had one rider that stayed off in the break. That rider from Bahrain Victorious, Torsten Train, wins the stage. But Adam Yates gets himself in the race jersey with a second place on the stage. Just behind him will finish Skilmos and will finish Almeida. Okay, UAE team members have the race leader's jersey. We're going to stage 5. Stage 5, Ineos are riding the front on the beginning of the climb, just like they did on the other stage on stage 4. They're doing too much work. They should have never been on the front to begin with. When you have riders like Ineos have on the team here at Tour of Switzerland, they should have just let attack start at the bottom of the climb. Slower is better, not faster, because Egan Bernal doesn't quite have that form that we see from UAE team members duo up there. But instead, when we start talking stage 5, Almeida's riding the front. He's riding the front 5 kilometers before the summit of the climb, going full gas. Now, they dropped Skilmos at that moment, but Skilmos is having a bad day. So it's not necessarily Almeida dropping Skilmos. had UAE team members in the race leader's yellow jersey waited for other guys to start attacking on the climb, Almeida doesn't have to ride 5 kilometers. For sure, other guys like Egan Bernal and other guys on the general classification are going to start attacking because Ineos want to win the stage, or they want to win the GC with Egan Bernal. Maybe even Tom Pidcock can get up in the mix. We saw Matthew Riccatello was up there in the front group having good stages, and we saw Enric Mas on stage 5 was up there. So we know with those riders that Almeida doesn't have to attack once Skilmos is coming off the back and ride for 5 kilometers. He's having a bad day. That group is still 10 riders strong when Skilmos is coming out the back. So up there riding on the front, I think this is a waste of energy. They did too much on stage 5. We know Adam Yates eventually attacks. We know that Almeida does a solid job back there, but when we look at the back wheel of Adam Yates at about 1.5 kilometers, he has Enric Mas and Egan Bernal, who both bridge the gap. So when I'm watching that, I'm like, wow, this is Abruzzo all over again. Adam Yates could lose the stage, he could lose the general classification, and Almeida's already dropped. Okay, Almeida does a fabulous job. He gets on the radio. I would believe he's telling Adam Yates, hey, slow down, I'm solo. Maybe it was something different. Maybe it was go, Adam, go, because Adam punches it and he ends up dropping Enric Mas and Egan Bernal. But we don't know what would happen at that moment because you don't know where Egan Bernal's form is exactly at. He already bridged across the gap. Enric Mas, I should have known the analytics on Enric Mas that he wasn't going to win the stage because Enric Mas doesn't win that often. So for me thinking that he might beat Adam Yates was probably bad on my side. But it worked out perfect for UAE if you look at the final results. But what I saw was Almeida had to ride 5 kilometers, and he may have gotten dropped and lost second on the general classification. And we're going into an individual time trial, which is ideal for Almeida to be able to win and win the overall classification. So why would you want to drop Almeida so early before we get into the individual time trial? When I'm sitting on Chesterfield, I'm thinking, UAE team members, you already have the race leader's jersey. Why do that work? Okay, we fast forward into this morning stage of Tour of Suisse where we're talking stage 6. Now, once we start going into this stage, Ineos are riding the front at the bottom of the climb. It's a 42-kilometer race. We have a small breakaway up the road. They're all going to get caught for sure, so Ineos are riding tempo at the bottom. Again, Ineos have ridden stage 4, 5, and 6, ridiculous tactics. They want the pace to go slower. You want Egan Bernal or Tom Pidcock to possibly start attacking that can get up the road, possibly win the stage. Egan Bernal won't necessarily be allowed, but Tom Pidcock can win the stage. If I'm Ineos, hope and a prayer for Egan Bernal to be able to win the general classification is far-fetched, so I'm thinking let's try to win a stage with Tom Pidcock. Let's go into the bottom of the climb on today's stage 6. We'll let them win the stage. We'll let Tom Pidcock try to win the stage, and we won't ride the front. We want it slow. We want it to go curb to curb. Tom Pidcock goes in a select group. He tries to win the stage. Egan Bernal follows UAE Team Emirates duel, takes it all the way to the line, hopefully can gain some time bonuses if Tom Pidcock can't win the stage. That's the way I'm thinking about it. Instead, they're riding full gas up the climb. Now, what's that telling me? That's telling me that Ineos are going to ride their whole team on the front all the way, just like we saw with Brendan Rivera riding on stage 4. They're going to ride the whole stage on the front, the beginning of this last climb here on stage 6, until Egan Bernal can try to be able to drop everyone. I don't see that happening, but that's what they're going to do. UAE team members, though, won't let them do it. Instead of just letting it stew and letting them ride like on Col du Jouplan, where they should have let Visma Lease bike ride up Jouplan and let Jonas Vingegaard go attack, UAE team members already have first and second on the general classification. All they had to do is follow Ineos, wait until Egan Bernal attacks. Once you see Egan Bernal attacking or Skilmos attacking, one of the favorites, maybe it's Enric Mas, maybe it's Riccatello back there throwing in attacks, you wait for the attacks from the GC favorites if you're UAE team members. Once you see their attacks, not only do you have 2 guys that haven't ridden the front, but you also have possibly Jan Christian still there, and you possibly have Del Toro still there. So if you had any problems, mechanicals or anything, you could always switch bikes and get going again, not lose time. Instead, like I said, they go to the front, they drill it, and then they start losing Jan Christian, then they lose Del Toro. Now Adam Yates attacks 3.5 kilometers to go. This is a risky move. You'll hear the announcer for Eurosport, he's talking about, oh, this isn't much of a risk. This is a very risky move going at 3.5 kilometers because if he gets caught, he can end up losing the stage, losing time on the general classification, and possibly losing the race leader's yellow jersey, going so far from the finish. Well, he goes. Then we're going to see Almeida bridge up to him. They work together. They rotate at 200 meters to go. Adam Yates gets dropped by his teammate. His teammate Almeida ends up winning the stage, gaining 8 seconds back on Adam Yates. And now Adam Yates is threat for the general classification. In terms of the individual time trial, we still have another mountain stage tomorrow. So tactically, we'll see how they race. But what I really want to focus on, Adam Yates is going to want to win the general classification. Today's stage, all he had to do was follow the GC favorites. Wait till he sees them fade, just like on Côte-Ré-Cambasque, stage 6 of the Tour de France, like Pogačar did. Follow Jonas the whole time. You know he's going to go. You know Egan Bernal is the Jonas card here on this stage 6. You follow him. You wait till he blows. You take off. Egan Bernal's general classification hopes are over. He spent all of his chips. You gained more time on Ineos. You kept the race leader's yellow jersey. Most likely you finished 1 and 2 on the stage. You're like, Chris, they did finish 1 and 2 on the stage. I know they did, but it was a bit risky. If you just waited and watched the other guys blow, you don't have them anywhere near you. You have more time on general classification. Adam Yates looks over his teammate there to Almeida and says, you can win the stage. He loses 4 seconds instead of 8. It looks more positive when we're going further into the mountain stages that Adam Yates is the race leader's jersey. Instead, he put his neck on the line going from 3.5 kilometers when he didn't have to. He didn't have to, just like they didn't have to on Jouplan of the Tour de France with Tadej Pogačar racing against Jonas Vingegaard, just like Adam Yates did at Abruzzo in Italy when he lost the general classification to Alexei Lusenko. He put his neck on the line today. Yes, it worked, but I've seen it many times when it doesn't work. And guys, if they don't do that tactic and they do my tactic, that was exactly what we saw on Côte-Ré-Cambasque of stage 6 of the Tour de France. They win, and they win by even more time, and they spent less energy to win. The most important thing in cycling is conserving energy. That is the one analytics that we know for sure. If you conserve energy, you have more energy at the finish of the race, and you have more energy for tomorrow's race. So when I look at the racing here at Tour of Suisse, UAE team members' tactics, especially on stage 5, 5 kilometers on the front for Almeida, 3.5 kilometers on stage 6. It's not quite knuckleheadism, but it didn't need to be done, and it's very risky what they did, and they could have made up more time and saved more energy for tomorrow's mountain stage and the individual time trial that's coming up at the end of Tour of Suisse. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Hopefully I didn't go too far down the rabbit hole here on the tactics. I think it's pretty clear though, so make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next edition real soon.